If you're around on this planet long enough, eventually you'll start noticing that there's certain patterns that keep repeating themselves. Whether it is things like sacred geometry, where you have the phi, the golden ratio of 1.618 that governs the proportion of our limbs, but also governs how nautilus shells form or how clouds form or even how seeds are distributed in a sunflower. So there's certain things like the sacred geometry which you can find everywhere. But we can also find other things like the four elements, for example, fire, water, air, earth. You'll see that most personality tests, leadership tests, right, whether it's Myers-Briggs or DISC, etc., are all based on these four elements, right? And also the one that we use of driver, pioneer, integrator, and guardian, that is supposed to be based on the amount of testosterone you were exposed to in your womb while you're in development. But even though they can go back to fire, water, air, earth, you can find those again and again. And one model that I found super helpful is the model of sevens and eights, right? Essentially the octave model. You can find it in, your chakras, for example, in Eastern thought, in yoga. And that's where I learned about it first when I was a teenager. But then you can also find it again in Timothy Leary's work on infopsychology and the game of life, which he wrote together with Robert Anton Wilson, where they looked at all these different systems of seven and also found correspondences, right, all the way to the I Ching, which is a system of eight. But even there's correspondences in these systems. And it's maybe because we perceive reality that way, or whether reality is that way, who knows? It might just be our cognitive apparatus, or the fact that we, can count to four here and then have a fifth or, fifth element for spirit or something. It might just be that. But either case, these frameworks are really, really helpful because once you internalize them, you can take any new situation, any new, problem that you encounter and actually look at the different dimensions of that through that lens. And what that does, it helps you to test for coherence and completion, right? Have you thought about all the different aspects of a system, enough? What have you covered them all? Have you, found good questions for each of them? And again, it's about questions. It's not necessarily about answers. And this is the difference between sort of a method that gives you concrete steps on how to do that and a framework that simply gives you good questions for inquiry. Right? So it can help you understand new systems quickly and then also design new actions and make sure that those two are coherent and complete, addressing all those different elements. So if you're interested to learn more, I'm going to put my link to my framework foundation sheet that I use for Lumen and all of our different frameworks that we've developed there. And some of the frameworks that I found, it's not complete, of course, but some of the frameworks I found that all correspond to these notions of seven and eights, both from ancient history all the way to modern organizational development network systems. And again, this is where the usefulness comes in as well, and especially in times of uncertainty when there's lots of newness. These meta-models of reality can help you get a quick grasp on what are the different dimensions that are involved here and what are the different things you can do to address what's going on.